Hello people, finally it's time for a proper workshop update. And let's start with my Latvian trips. You may already know that I made 2 trips to Latvia to visit Factory Dragon 87, this guy. And the first trip I was supposed to get some parts for my 1K625 lathe, and I did. I got a brand new lead screw, which is right here, wrapped in plastic. And I got some other things too. And also I got brand new spindle bearings, the front bearings and the back bearings for my lathe. And when we were in the machine tool seller that sold us the bearings, the machine tool seller also had some machines for sale, some milling machines and grinding machines and lathes. Some were just laying around outside, and he also had a big garage or a workshop full of machines. And for some time I have been looking for a smaller lathe, and we went to see the workshop, warehouse I mean, and there were many lathes, big lathes, small lathes, this size and bigger, and then there were some smaller lathes. And I started looking at some of the smaller lathes, and then Factory Dragon called me, come here, this is the lathe you need. And the lathe is now here. And this is a lathe made by Ichimo's factory, which is the same factory that makes automatic Kalashnikov rifles, AK-47 and 74 rifles, for example. And the model is 1i611P. And the year of manufacture is 1967. And what's a little special about this lathe is that it's an extra precision lathe. And one other thing that is pretty special about it is the condition. Mostly the condition of the ways. It has some other problems, but I can tell you about them later. There is some dirt and grease on there, but under all of that, the ways are pretty much perfect. I have already done some measurements, and the biggest error I have found so far from one end to the other end is 0.03 of a millimeter. So it should be pretty good. And also I got this lathe for very good price. But as you can see, it has some problems. And the most serious problem were bad spindle bearings. And I have now taken the spindle box apart, and I have the spindle on my table. You can see it right there, the long shaft. I will also make a video about removing the spindle, because I spent quite a bit of time doing it. I want nobody else to spend as much time on it as I did, so I hope I'm gonna help somebody. But now I have the spindle off, and I'm gonna get on the same trip that I got this lathe, I also got some brand new bearings, and this is the main spindle bearing, the front bearing and 2 back bearings, and this is an old back bearing. And I also got 2 other bearings for the belt pulley system, but these are a little bit wrong size, so I may have to buy new if I don't reuse the old ones. A little bit more about this lathe. The swing over waist is 250 millimeters, and between centers is 500 millimeters. So it's pretty much half the size of my 1K625. And what's nice about this lathe, this is actually pretty much a miniature copy of my bigger lathe. It has pretty much the same controls. This one also has the same joystick, but no rapid drivers, of course. And it has all kinds of feeds and threads in it. And it has a very nice gear shifting mechanism, which comes from here. And it goes like, you have the spindle running, and when the spindle runs, you check through the window the gear you want to put in, for example this one, and then you press this switch down and it stops the spindle, and when you push it further it will change the gear, and when you let the lever back up, the new gear is in and the spindle starts running again. So it's a pretty nice system. But also in the gearbox there are some problems. I had to take the gearbox and some other parts off for transport, because I only had a small trailer and I had to move as much weight from the trailer to the car as possible. So I took off, or we took with Factory Recon, we took off this gearbox and pretty much everything else we could. And it barely fit the weight limits. But so, the problems with this gearbox, it has two problems. One is this pulley, the hub is worn. So I will have to, I guess I'm gonna weld the shaft and and return it again, or grind it, and then figure out something to do with the hub. Maybe just bore it a little larger, and then also enlarge the keyway a little bit. And then inside the gearbox there is one broken gear. But what I'm gonna do after I get the headstock back together, I will do some kind of quick repair to this pulley, and for the gear I am planning on taking the shaft that the gear is on, taking the shaft off and taking the gear off, and using my plasma cutter to cut the teeth of the gear out. So I will cut a ring, the gear ring out, the teeth ring out, and so I will miss some gears in the gearbox, but I can run it. And I will do this because at the moment I have 1, 2 and 3 machines under work, and I need to get this lathe running. And I have a lot of work to do also. But I will fix the spindle now as well as I ever can, and then I'm gonna put the lathe back together and start using it. And then I will figure out what to do with the broken gear and the wheel hub. And when I have this lathe back together, I will finally continue with my surface grinder, and then I will have a lathe and a surface grinder that I can use to fix my big lathe. So I have got a little bit of something going on in here, but this lathe is now progressing pretty good. I have some hopes for getting it running in maybe even next weekend. I hope so. Tomorrow I will get some new bearings that I still don't have, and then I'm gonna start putting it back together. Okay,